I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
This is Bulletproof from the band Machine Head.
For the big homie Andreas.
For the big homie Andre. I see a picture of Trump holding up the Bible.
Oh my god.
He's holding it upside down. It says lies on it. Then you got old boy kneeling on George Floyd's neck.
Oh my
so
god.
for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at this channel with this song, or you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. Look, I'm a fan. I'm glad that Machine Head wrote this song, even though I haven't seen it yet. I'm just looking at the thing. Because that's the point of artists. Art is supposed to reflect the culture back to it. So we're not afraid of that. Now, if you, dear listener, would like your song reviewed, there's multiple ways to do it. My favorite is the community option. $1 the gate gets you in. And then you join an alliance. You've seen we've done a couple of alliance videos recently. Or you can hop and skip and jump in front of everybody, not everybody, everybody. You can hop and skip and jump in front of everybody. 125 gets you straight to the head of the gate, and then you do that 3 times, you get bumped down at $75 rate. Okay, Machine Head, Bulletproof, let's go.
Here we go.
Tearing at the seams, the tension is rising, corruption and greed, hysteria, inequality, the rich man with power, the poor left to bleed, bleeding, in routine, driven to our knees, the beatings, the chokings, the violent decree, an effigy, burning dollar bills, the stock market profits with every kill, each day that's so higher, bail out the bastards, nothing to the poor, distract and deny, deflect and decide, the sacrificial lamb for the knife, 'cause what's another life, for them it's all worth.
to him, brother
Yikes.
minister.
That was heavy.
It's heavy as hell.
Yeah. Yep. And I like the message.
Yeah, the message was tight, bro. He said the Christians proclaiming pro-life.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I was on one of these Christian forums, which I don't even know why I'm on it. And there's this guy that was like, guys,
We are Christians.
He's like, the guy was like, man, guys, I need help. He's like, I'm struggling. I was like, oh man, that's terrible. Brother's struggling. He said, I'm struggling with the death penalty. He's like, the more and more I think about it, the harder and harder it is to reconcile with my Christian sensibilities. No shit. And then there was like, I shit you not, there's like 75 comments trying to justify the death penalty.
No. Wow.
What do you mean no? What are you talking about?
I should know.
It says the guy says the soldier doesn't bear the sword in vain. And I asked brother, I said, yeah, it says the soldier doesn't bear the sword in vain. Where does it say that Christians should be advocating for the use of that sword?
Right.
Like,
right.
you do recognize the difference between descriptive and prescriptive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not telling us, yay, he's telling us this is how things work.
Yeah.
But that's not the sort of world that we've been tasked to create. We're not tasked to create a world where we kill people.
Right. Right.
One guy was like, the death penalty leaves no room for redemption. No shit. That's why you have like a very, very early Christian tradition of the woman caught in adultery and how Jesus, finagles a way to get her to escape with her head intact. Mm-hmm. So, anytime, look, I think that, we find ourselves in a very precarious position of hypocrisy on both sides when it comes to the pro-life issue.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, our home team will cry their eyes out about babies who get aborted, but then
you should.
You should. The minute those babies are born, then these same group of people are completely callous. You're on your own. Mm-hmm. Or they'll say they're pro-life, but they'll support the death penalty, even though they know that the application of the death penalty is completely skewed one way. Even the most bloodthirsty Republicans admit that it's skewed one way,
right,
as far as the death penalty goes.
I'm appalled at the reaction to talking about children being in cages to that demographic. That's just crazy. And also,
but you're pro-life.
Bombing other places.
Fuck 'em.
I mean, there are babies in wombs and there are
right.
infants and children and
God will sort them out.
But that's not there doesn't seem to be a concern at all.
Yeah, and then a woman gets shot up in her house. Well, you shouldn't have dated a drug dealer. Like this just complete dismissal of the value of
infuriating.
Oh, George Floyd was on drugs, so let's just sit on his knee. Let's knee him for 8 minutes. Like that's cool and it's coming from our team. There's some study that came out that said white evangelicals are actually more likely to be racist than secular white people. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, because you have a theological justification for your racist bullshit. So I hear that, I'm like, yes, that's right. But then on the other hand, I got people who are supporting dissecting babies in the womb.
Yep.
And I don't give a, I was just on some, atheist show or whatever a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I say it all the time, abortion's completely indefensible. That's why these people generally don't want to debate. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened I got in a debate. Shout out to the big... And the guy who ran the show said, well, shit, now I got to think. Mm-hmm. And then, a couple days ago, he said, I'm pro-life now. Yeah. Because, the abortion industry, and make no mistake, it is an industry, is only perpetuated based on lies and misinformation and purposeful disinformation. Mm-hmm. The average person doesn't understand the prevalence of abortion, how late you can have an abortion, what the reasons are for late-term abortion, all these things. They don't know. Mm-hmm. So, and when you describe the second most popular form of abortion, people are horrified and they don't want to believe it's true. And so, when I hear this song, I'm like, yes! But then I'm like, you probably support that shit. Cutting kids up and it was this weird conversation on Middle America where, the day before, this guy, I'm not going to say his name because this forum's too big, but the day before, the guy was arguing with me about how horrible I am as a person because I want to take away the right of women to kill their children. And then, literally the next day, without any sense of irony, he posts this horrific situation about this baby that ended up getting killed and dumped in a dumpster. And then he goes,
yeah, I know. They don't
he's like, this is the world you pro-life people want to create. I'm like, huh?
No, because that happened in a world where abortion is legal. So what are you talking about?
Like, what do you
because he's trying to make it sound like if you take away abortions, then women are going to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
abortion was legal, and that's what the person did.
There's that, but there's also, here's the thing, is it was a full-term baby. So there are a lot of states where abortion isn't legal past 26 weeks or whatever. So I'm like, so would you rather the young lady be able to kill the child in a clinic? And would it make you feel better if they killed a 9-month-old child in the clinic like they do in Colorado?
Pieces and
then dumped it in a dumpster? Like, I don't understand the logic at all.
Well, you don't have to see it. He saw a picture of the baby.
Exactly. If it's the dumpster's public domain, the clinic is private. So as long as it's being done behind closed, and I, it's like he said, like, I'm going to speak the truth. Like, I don't give a fuck how you feel. Like, if you're a Christian, and I posted something about like just life. I didn't even say anything politically. All I said was about being consistently pro-life. Mm-hmm. And the guy immediately responds and says, forcing me at gunpoint to pay for somebody else's medical, whatever, is socialism. God loves a cheerful giver. And I'm like, but this motherfucker is going to call himself pro-life. So all these kids are dying of diabetes, because they're aging out of their mother's insurance or their parents' insurance at 28 because of Obamacare, which Mr. Trump said he was going to repeal but replace. But we still have that gap of 28 million people. But hey, who cares? So all these people are dying. I didn't even say anything about that, though. Because I know now not to say that shit in a Christian forum. Because I'm going to get a bunch of privileged people who say, well, that's their fault, and you can't compel me, there's no compelled charity. First of all, there is compelled charity in the Bible, but I'm not even going to, I can't even go there with those people. But, like, I didn't even say that, and that is dude's immediate response. So it's like, fuck those people, let them die. Just let them die. You should have had a better job than being a waiter at 28. That's what one of them said. I'm like, jeez. So yeah, and they're supposedly pro-life, these Christians, and Ted Cruz talks about making sand glow, and they're all yay. And I just find I find myself like more and more like, yo, I'm not with that at all. But I'm also not with killing babies either. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not with that at all. Babies, hey, newsflash, babies are not the property of their parents to do with as they see fit. Babies are the responsibility of the parent, not the property.
There's a difference. I
had a good friend try to bring up slavery. She said, I love her to death.
Defend abortion?
To defend abortion. She said, as a black man, you should know how it feels if people try to control your body or something like that, some crazy shit like that. I said, look, homie. I said, as a black man, I know what it's like to have an entire society come out against you and dehumanize you, and then claim that you are the property. Because basically, that's the only thing you could say as a pro-choicer, right? Is to say that the baby is the property of the mother to do with as she wills, which is, and it's not human, which is literally the same syllogism that justified slavery: is that black people aren't human, we're property to do with as they see fit. So I saw that shit before in history. So I said, I'm very glad that there were some very irrational white people that said, no, we're not going to like gradually get rid of this shit. We're going to abolish slavery, period. And if you don't, we're going to fucking set fire to your plantation until you let these Negroes go, period. We're not compromising with you at all. I'm glad. Now, I know that there are some societal issues that we got to figure out once these kids glut our society. Yeah. I don't give a fuck. We'll figure them out. That's what John Brown was saying. They were like, well, John Brown, what are you going to do about the economy here? And how are you going to help these disenfranchised black people? Did you think about that when you're on your abolitionist kick? John Brown said, I don't give a fuck. You don't let these Negroes go, we're going to set your fire to your plantation.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it before. If you're killing all of these, we're killing 3,000 babies a day. So if you're killing 3,000 babies a day, that is a hell of a lot of minds that you are eliminating from this planet. Correct. So we have a lot of issues and we have a lot of problems, but we may be eliminating the people people that would have helped us to get rid of those problems,
100%.
to help us solve the problems that we have in our nation and in our world.
100%.
But we're too busy.
Takes one.
We're too busy trying to figure out ways to kill these babies.
We killed 60 million. It only takes one. Only takes one Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
Only takes one Tesla. Only takes one.
Right.
One Gates. One Jobs.
Yeah.
It only takes one to change the entire world. We killed 60 million of these kids. So, but anyway, I love the song because, it's talking about the current, unrest. I think that's been the craziest thing to me, man. And look, Brianna Taylor, the complete disregard for human life that people have is mind-boggling to me, and it's I didn't tell you about this, but basically one of the grand jurors in the Brianna Taylor case,
I was reading about that, basically
sued for the information to come out to the public because the Coon AG, who's black by the way, the Coon AG said, "Oh yeah, he was justified they were justified in shooting and blah blah blah." When ballistics came back, and it's like it's up in the air as to who actually shot who.
And people were saying they felt very uncomfortable with the way that it landed that night and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that were there.
Well, then there's a video of it, and look, the guy said explicit, like, this is a homicide, like you guys. So if it's a homicide, that means that the police who killed her were suspects and they were allowed to walk around on the scene unmolested and all the rest of it. It's like, can you imagine that world? Like, if I shot up one of these cops in their homes, do you think I'd be able to just walk around on that crime scene and make sure that I could craft the narrative to go where I want it to go?
Right.
Does that make sense to you? But yeah, I think at this point, like, if you don't understand what Black Lives Matter is trying to accomplish, like, you're misunderstanding on purpose. Like, period. Like, and this is where history becomes so important, because people are going to go, but then they're Marxists. They were saying the exact same thing about Dr. King. Literally the exact. As a matter of fact, the FBI proactively released all that information as part of COINTELPRO against Dr. King. Like, it's just a fact. It's like, well, I'll support any, just not them, because they're Marxists. Okay, so if you don't support anyone that says anything nice about Marx, and you definitely would not support, you wouldn't have supported Dr. King either. It's silly. This is me. I don't care about anybody's sensibility on any of these topics at all. Because it's talking about telling the truth.
The thing is, when you start having these conversations with people and you're speaking out the truth about the topics, and then people come up at you with these stupid, silly things that they would never accept if it was their family or if it was done against their own race, then you're like, okay, I'm getting really tired of this. And it's like always the same demographic of people that are so vocal about it, but they're the same people that are going to be posting all this stuff about take off your mask, it's so liberating. Let's not let these people tell us to do. It's like
well, that's the other thing. It's like people were saying, like, hoax, whatever.
You can't even wear a mask for other people.
I'm like, wait a second, like, was 200,000 dead Americans? That's a hoax? Like, what are you talking about?
I don't, it doesn't make any sense. And the thing with the Brianna Taylor thing, it's so frustrating because it's like, they barged into her apartment, okay, they were looking for her ex-boyfriend, to my understanding, who was a drug dealer. She is not drug dealing, her boyfriend currently was not drug dealing. They barged in with one of those things that smashes the door. Like, how scary would that be if you're living in I don't care where you're living, if you're living in an apartment, you already have this idea that something could happen, you're not in your own home, like it's a shared apartment, what's happening, and this person is smashing through the doors. Like, I don't even know any white Americans, literally I don't know any, that wouldn't say, absolutely you should grab your weapon in that situation.
These are the same motherfuckers.
They're the same ones.
They're the
and
same
then they're
ones
saying,
that,
well, they were justified. Well, like, I had a weapon. Well, she didn't have a weapon, and they barged into their home like that. Like, what are you talking about? There's no way they would accept that if that was their family members. If their family members got barged in on like that and came out with a weapon and got killed, they would be irate.
Well, these are the same people.
It's so dishonest, and that's what I'm so sick. I'm so sick of the dishonesty and the way that everybody's looking at just the one side, and they're like confused about what's going on. It's like, this is obvious, and you are on purpose missing the point.
Yeah, like this is like, you know, these are the same people that can look at the Rittenhouse video and say he had justifiable reason to kill those people. Because, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse, like the little kid, the 17-year-old that, you know, was able to stroll right past police.
Yeah.
They're able to look at that and go, that's self-defense. Because the first dude that he shot was displaying aggressive affect towards him, and there was a bang 20 seconds before he got busy. They're able to look at that and go, well, come on, what would you do? Self-defense. Or they're always the ones with these memes that say, you know, if you're willing to kill somebody, that means that you value your property more than their life. And then they always go, ha ha, that means a person that broke into my house also valued, you know, my property more than their life. Right? And it's, ha ha, this big American, yada, yada, yada. But now, because the white cops barged into the black neighbor's house, that guy's not supposed to shoot. Now he's not supposed to shoot when there's a intruder at night and he doesn't know what the hell is going on. Now he's not supposed to shoot. It's like naked, bald, open, and obvious racism. Like, it's clear. And like, I don't believe that racism is the unforgivable sin. I look at ageism, which is, hey, you're this age, so we can kill you. Yeah. Which is all abortion is. Yeah. I look at ageism just as bad as racism. I've got ageist friends that I love. I've got racist friends that I love. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of my racist friends don't know they're racist, so. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, somebody was like, well, you might be racist, Vin. I'm like, yeah, probably am. Probably am. You grew up black in America, there's a very good chance that you might be a racist or prejudiced or whatever.
Reading that Malcolm X book with the kids, I read a couple chapters with them, his autobiography, and my mother was horrified at some of the things that I was saying. She was like, oh, sorry, that's racism, because I said, look, because he basically sold out this black girl for this white woman because it raised up his standards that he was with this white woman. Yeah. And I was like, I said, yeah, I mean, I always thought it was kind of weird that you, if I was you, I'd have stuck with my own people. My mom was like, what?
I would have too. I made an exception for you. You get these silly ass pro-life people. You're pro-life, and then you say dumb shit like I'm not gonna say his name, but you know, people say shit like, oh, well, you know, the flu. It's like, okay, here is a 2019-2020 preliminary burden estimate. This is what they estimated. 24 to 62,000 deaths between 1 October 2019 and 4 April 2020. That is not the same thing. In 2018, we had 34,200 deaths for the entire year of 2018-2019 for the flu. COVID is not like the flu. We're up to 200,000 dead people. But all this silly disinformation and misinformation. Do I believe that wearing a mask and social distancing is absolutely and totally necessary? No. However, I would much rather err on the side of caution and life. I'm a young male in my 30s at pretty decent physical conditioning. So if I were to get COVID, I would be okay. But there's more people that live in my community than me. So I would rather err on the side of safety and err on the side of loving my neighbor and taking care of my neighbor. Mm-hmm. People are like, oh, you're wearing a mask. That shows that you're a sheep. No, you silly motherfucker. It shows that I care about the person next to me, and if there's a 1% chance that I could be a carrier of a contagion that would kill my neighbor, I want to protect my neighbor from that bullshit. If there's a 1% chance. Right. That's why. It has nothing to do with being a sheep, but this is a supposed pro-life outfit. Mm-hmm. These white right-wing evangelicals. This is supposedly a pro-life outfit. So I'm glad he called out the pro-life thing. It's killing me. It's killing me. Nobody's pro-life in this. There's very few pro-life people in this country, I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. The rich mad with power, the poor left to bleed, the beatings, the choking, the violent decrees. He's talking about bail out the bastards, nothing to the poor. Yeah. This was all the way back from 2008. Yeah. You know, and this is the thing that kills me, and he talks about distraction, like now we're supposed to be talking about Trump's taxes. He only paid $750 in taxes. I don't give a fuck how much he paid in taxes. Trump came out and said this shit in his debate with Hillary. He explicitly said, yeah, I was able to dodge a whole bunch of them. I was able to use a bunch of loopholes, and you were a litigator while I was doing all that shit. Why didn't you stop it? And then he said, you didn't stop it because you've got all these big donors and you're helping them, so you're the problem. Don't come to me about my taxes. He's right.
Yep.
I don't care how much he paid in taxes. What are the policies he's going to pass for my neighbors who cannot afford to do what we did when they said, oh, by the way, you've got a random $500 check. You've got a random $500 thing. Okay. Literally in the last 30 days, we have paid $16,000 in medical bills. That's not an exaggeration.
That's not even all of them.
It's not an exaggeration. Thousands of dollars. And we're able to do it and keep it moving. The average American doesn't even have $1,000, and we're trying to buy a house, so that's not fun. The average American doesn't even have $1,000 emergency fund, but we're bailing out these quadrillion-dollar businesses, and now I'm supposed to worry about Trump's tax returns. The man donates his presidential salary every year. Like that's $400,000 a year. He doesn't take it. He doesn't take it. So does that cancel out? Does that make you feel better that he does that, but he only paid $750,000 in taxes in 2016? What the fuck does that have to do with your quality of life? How would that have saved Alex Smith, who died because he aged out of his See, this is the shit that gets me. It's like there's so much emotionalism and not enough rational thought processes happening. I don't give a fuck what Trump says for the most part. What I care about are his policies and the things that will affect people and the people that I care about, namely people in this country on a day-to-day basis and people in other countries, by the way. Like Afghanistan, when he tried to pull out of Afghanistan and the fucking Democrats tried to stop it.
Yeah.
I got people I love over there. One of them's in this channel. And the Democrats tried to keep that man away from his daughters. So I'm not playing any games with any political party. Fuck the Republican Party. Fuck the Democratic Party. And if you can't see what these people are trying to do, all this is about is power. And we are not using our power to leverage against theirs because we're falling for this media bullshit. It's unbelievable to me. Very, very good song. Very pertinent. Very relevant. Hopefully it creates some self-criticism as well, because that's important. We got to criticize ourselves and look inward. And not a lot of people do that. What do you give the song?
Oh, I mean, I think it's pertinent. It's a 10 or it's an 11. It's really good. So 11. It's really
good. It's a 10.5 for me. Really, 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 really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We're jumping off right now because we're about to jump into the debate. So by the time you guys watch this debate, I'll already have been there.
Thanks, Andreas. Sorry out.
Gone. Good song, Andreas.